Hi there, welcome to Belt Friends. My name is Casey Hutchinson. I'm the president of Empire Rubber and Supply, and this is my podcast to crawl into the belting industry and talk to friends that I have in the industry, obviously with the name, and get to know them a little bit better, certainly for myself, and share it with others who may not know them. Today I'm with Rodney Roalsen, and I want to get your title right, Rod. You're the Director of Heavy Duty Products at Beltservice Corp.
You know, that was my old title, but all the information is still the same. I'm now in business development.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay. And how fresh is that title?
Oh, probably about the last 12, 14, maybe a year and a half now.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of shifts and changes that are going on at Beltservice, and that seemed to be a good role for me.
Okay. Well, shame on me. We text more than we email, so I grabbed it off your email, and that's where I went with it.
See, that just goes to show that I need to update certain things. You're pointing out that I'm a slacker.
No, not at all. We're going to banter differently today because Rodney is my cousin, and with me being his cousin, I'm an easy target too. But I thought this would be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to this one, Rod. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. What an honor. I appreciate being here, and I don't know what all's in store because I know you got some stuff you're going to ask me, and looking forward to shooting from the hip and seeing what we can do.
Good. Well, that's the goal of this, because if it was scripted, it would be very boring, and I don't want the belt industry to be boring.
Nothing but boring in the belting industry.
Right? We don't have any fun.
Right.
Well, Rod, I'm going to fire off with my first question, basically asking you to tell us about yourself, family, where you call home. We'll lead off with that.
No, that's a great question. Well, I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, right here with you guys, and I moved up to Vancouver, Washington about 20 years ago. So I'd say that I'm a local Northwest native, and I just turned 52 years old. We were talking about that on the way up the stairs, like, oh, what a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
And married to Julie, high school sweethearts. We've been together for like a long minute. And I have a couple boys, both Tristan and River, and they're really good kids, 21 and 17 years old.
Man, if that doesn't date you already.
Yeah, a little bit, but I figured I'd just out with it, right?
Well, happy belated birthday,
Well,
Rod.
thank you, and happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you.
You're a couple behind me, right?
49.
Okay,
So
knocking on that door.
you go over the hill, and I'll follow you. So
I think I fell off the hill.
yeah,
I'm still falling.
You're rolling down it now. Well, tell us what got you into the belting industry. I think I know a little bit about this story, but you're going to fill in some blanks.
Right. You know that movie, Forrest Gump? He's going into battle, and he's like looking at all of his forefathers, and as he's going into battle, it's like his father did that, his grandfather did that. Like, I think I was born a rubber baby. Like, it's in my blood. This was what I was meant to do.
Got it under your nails somehow and it won't get out.
Once it gets under, you're kind of hook, line, and sinker. But, I was thinking about that on the way over here. Like, I believe I just celebrated 35 years in this industry. Obviously that means I started really young. It was a family business like yours.
Yeah.
And, evenings and weekends down at the rubber shop, helping my dad move stuff around. I think that's really in the beginning. Most of what I was doing is just go get this, go move that, excuse me. And a lot of it was in the early stages, he would move warehouses every couple of years. And so my job was take all the inventory down, tear all the racks down, and reset up at the new location. And so I got familiar with the inventory, where things went, and back in the day, he was into a lot of different things, he being Rubber Ron. We were in the hose business, so I remember having the shopping cart, and I'd cruise down the aisles, and I'd pick out some, hose, and pick up some different couplings, and go back and get orders ready to go. So, it just started like that. I don't know if that was a normal childhood, but that's what I knew.
Yeah. Well, we had to do something to fulfill our lives with some type of work. So you could have been folding boxes or doing something crazily different if you followed in his footsteps. But this is the vessel
it's my gift, it's my curse, it's my calling. I kind of feel like this is what I was meant to do. And I don't know, if I could do anything other. Like, I really enjoy what I do. The products are cool, but the people are it's all about the people. That's really where it's at for me. I could be selling anything, but it's more about the relationships and the things, the giving and the receiving that we get. And I think you understand that too. You have really tight relationships with all the people you work with.
Yeah. When you see problems solved for them, they trust is garnered, and it's hard to break that. You know, once you have it, you can't possibly lose it. You want to be that source.
Yeah, and what do they say? It takes a 1,000 attaboys to make up for one shit, so don't do that. You got to you do what you do in the beginning, treat them right, take care of them, and don't let them down.
Yeah. So you were doing it while you were in high school, like you would work summers, maybe some evenings where you could, or weekends?
Yeah, a lot of it was weekend work, and then obviously during the summer, my dad would give me an opportunity to go down there and make a couple bucks, but really help him out. I think that's what it was. I listened to your podcast the other day and talking about your dad, like, hey, you needed somebody that he could trust, and you came into the business and started kind of working your way up. And I obviously was pretty young, high school and into college. Rubberon moved out of the hose business and solely into the conveyor belting right about the end of me being in high school. And so, like, I remember as a kid helping another guy get set up with all the inventory. We had a bunch of excess inventory, and my dad put me to work. My job was, going to the car lots, the service stations, and construction sites, and I had a pickup truck, and I had a bunch of hose in the back of it. So I was pedaling hose out of the back of my truck when I was 17, 18, 19 years old, and then working in the fabrication shop, learning how to put cleats and V-guides and sidewalls down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So the hand was at your back. Go sell.
Yeah, maybe he had a vision of this is what he wanted to do with me, or maybe he had all this oddball surplus, material, and he's like, give him a chance to go sell it, and we can make a couple bucks.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's looking back at it, it's like, man, I wasn't sure what I was doing. He kind of gave me some scripts, and what's that show, Napoleon Dynamite? And Kip's out there, and he's got the Tupperware, and he's, he drives over it with his van, and it breaks, and he's like, damn, oh, man. Like, we had brass fittings, so I could show people in the parking, like, man, you're not going to crush this hose, and they'd throw it underneath my truck, and I'd drive over it, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty awesome, and so I'd get a sale for some hose.
Oh, rock on. That's awesome. Do you miss hose?
I'm essentially selling hose now. Hose is just flat conveyor belt, and conveyor belt is round hose, so something like that. Yeah. But, I'm glad that we found our core competency and then we ran with it, because, I think selling too many different things, then you're not as good as where you really want to be, like one singular focus.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I was grateful the day we gave up on hose. Yes, we still have avenues to it, but I'll sell it by the mile, not by the foot.
Yeah, it's a whole nother animal.
Yeah, and especially when people are coming in for itty bitties, it's like belting. We'll sell you a roll for under your door, but I'm not going to sell you that strip today.
Well, and do you guys still have a lot of walk-in will call customers that are like, hey, I need this lace end repaired on my belt?
We do, yeah. There'll be people turning a lathe or doing something, minuscule that's, you're setting aside your $5,000 order for $25 order, and we still try to give it the best attention we can, but we scare them off with a minimum because sometimes they don't want to pay $100, but you don't have time for anything less.
It takes a lot of money to slow down to do something and then to pick back up where you are, and I think that's one of the things with the hose business, or when it was rubber and plastics, we would get guys walking in from time to time, hey, can you fix this, or can you help me with that? And that's not what we're set up or designed to do. We have to slow everybody down and then go figure out, okay, where is this at, and in our inventory, and do we have enough of it? And so we got rid of that side of the business, and it got a lot easier when we were just focusing on taking care of our customers that were not just walking through the front door.
Yeah. Tell me about that, because your idea of fabrication far differs from mine. I have a Leicester gun, and I'm putting PVC cleats to a belt, and that's way different than what you got into. Well, there was some of what you got into.
Yeah, we were kind of, back in the day, we were doing some thermal welding or using the Leicester gun. We never got into, any of the RF welders and the cool stuff that's out there right now. But ours was kind of the, take a conveyor belt and get out your grinder and mark out your belt, and you got to get down through a little bit of the top cover of the belt if you're going to bond anything to it. I kind of tell people it's like painting your house or like painting your car. You got to remove everything. You got to buff it. You got to prep it. You got to put some solvents and some things down, and then through heat and pressure, We would actually vulcanize uncured conveyor belt to a cured conveyor belt. And like that's what I did a lot in high school. And I remember when I transitioned into inside-outside sales, that was the time when we got our first pre-grind machine.
Oh, wow.
It was set up that it could, index and it could advance the belts. And I remember thinking, man, that would have made my life so much easier on those hot summer nights back, because I was working on the night crew. And I remember, the presses are like 300 degrees, and it's not like it really gets hot here, but some of the buildings that we were operating in back in the day, the insulation wasn't that great.
No.
Hot day, hot press, and man, there's a lot of, I could have used that pre-grinder a few years ago. But nonetheless, we started making some advancements, and we ended up doing some pretty cool things when it was all said and done.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, when you put the elbow grease in and really start working in the heat, I would be upset with that tool coming along and simplifying things too.
I mean, I'm grateful for it because it allowed for better production and efficiency, down the road. But when you think about it, if you got a guy with a Nikita hand grinder, right, and he's stretching across a table, and maybe it's a 48-inch wide or a 60-inch wide belt, and you got to have even pressure back and forth, and then you're kind of stretching, and then all of a sudden you get these, inconsistencies in the grind. They're a little too light, they're a little too deep. Well, all of that's going to have an impact on, the process of vulcanization and having proper adhesion. So, going through first, second, and third iteration of these different pre-grind machines, we ended up with a really nice CNC grinder. It's a vacuum table. It holds the belt down. Everything is all programmed in, and we can fire off a drawing to a customer. They approve it. That's already in our system, and then we just put the belt in and press a couple buttons and step back, and we have a perfect grind all across the belt. No inconsistencies. And I remember when we put that in, man, our quality shot up, and we didn't have nearly as many problems as we did with cleats lifting or any adhesion.
Yeah, eliminate the variables.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's everything in our industry. I mean, because everything was man-driven, man move, do this, and things like that. That you can't see what's underneath the hood when it's done.
Definitely.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I've tackled a few subjects and I like where we're going with this, but I don't want to lose.
We're rubber guys. We can bounce around a little bit, Casey. It's all good.
That's a horrible pun.
I've got a lot of them, so my apologies to the audience.
No worries, and we got ones we can edit and post
there
too.
There you
go. We touched on the man, Uncle Ron, Rubber Ron. I guess I'll take a moment because our families get busy, families do different things. We always got to circle back on Thanksgivings and Christmases and things like that at our lovely grandmother's house and your house, my house, things like that. And as time went on, we were busy and our grandmother passed and we didn't get to see each other at any high frequency anymore. But you and I are fortunate that we've had this industry, and it helped me get to, God rest his soul, but I got to know your father too. And I was thinking about the things that I missed about him, because he had sayings that roll off your tongue now.
Yeah.
And they had circled through the recycle with other people that I've known too. But the one thing I miss dearly about your father is the joke and what it meant to him before his delivery. He would get to laughing about it so bad before he could even throw out the beginning to even deliver on his way towards the punch. And it was going to be funnier to him 9 times out of 10. But God, I miss that. That was such a fun part.
I do too. I'm thinking about, icons or people in the industry, people that, have made a difference or an impact on me. I mean, Rubber Ron, number one, right? Giving me a chance or an opportunity or seeing something or believing something, or maybe out of desperation, like I just need somebody to help me out. And you know what it's like working in a family business. I mean, sometimes you get the petals and sometimes you get the thorns. You never know. And it takes, a lot of work from everybody to be able to are you my dad or are you my boss right now? Mm-hmm. And we were always working. So evenings and weekends when I was over at his house, we were always talking shop. We were always, so it was tough in the beginning, but then there's this magical thing that happens, right? When all of a sudden you start to, that being me or you, Casey, you start to bring value to the business. You're not just taking company resources like, hey, we're going to put you in this position, we're going to give you a little bit of training, and then we're going to hope you're going to go out there and knock a few out of the park. That's obviously the goal, but there's that unique time. And I remember when, kind of basically doing business development as well, going out cold calling, trying to find customers. And all of a sudden I started to make an impact on the bottom line. And all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, those are pretty wide belts and those are really big cleats. And I'm like, yeah, but if we had the press and if we made the molds, like we could break into this new market. And we started to do some things differently. And that was really cool when my dad started to see like, all right, he's not just my kid, right? He's doing some really good things and he's helping grow the business. And that's when I think it became a lot more fun. And I would never say that he and I were ever equally yoked, but it was nice to know that I was actually giving some things back to the company and not just like being the bump on the log. Because you know what it's like with some other family members that come into the business. You're like, hey, if you're in the business, we're going to give your brother or your cousin an opportunity. And sometimes you get some duds.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have anyone back on the bench to go to. It's like, right, you got to ride this one out. No, I can appreciate that. I guess I can't point, to that exact moment where I felt confidence of I've got this. It was a slow burn for me, but
right.
But some of the realizations when, as he would let certain leash out and give me afford himself some decisions that I could make and let me learn by them, that I took, and at least I didn't want to break that trust to, go smashing through and make a rough cut decision that would have a terrible influence for both of us.
Right, and I mean, I think that there's a part of it you're getting guided from, a family member, but there's part of that you need to learn how to fail so you can succeed kind of a deal. So, we took some business on that was like at the end of the day, like, man, I don't know if that was really the right kind of stuff for us, but you got to go out and test the waters and try new things. And it was really, those opportunities where it's like, wow, we could make an investment here. And if we do this is the kind of business that we're going to get with this particular customer, but it's going to open up the door into this industry. And being able to do that and then having the backing, like, I believe in you, let's figure out how to come up with the capital to do this. And I think that's really where the relationship with my dad and I became really special. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of pain in the beginning, and I'm not going to say that there wasn't more frustration throughout the years. There's growing pains with anybody, but it was a great experience working with my dad, and I certainly miss him.
Yeah.
Have you had anybody cry on the show yet, Casey?
Well, let's dig into that more.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. But no, I mean, what a joy, what a blessing to be able to work with your dad.
Truly.
And you've got the same thing.
I do, and I cherish it dearly. I mean, I think I look at it for, I guess let's look at it through a different lens, because both you and I were very young going into it. So, teaching us and trying to foster something to watch it grow under them was new for them too. And then, in growing up, it's not always clean living. And I guess I speak to that for myself, not just within the business, but he had to come home to me too and deal with those licks too. So I kept him on his toes. There's no question about that. But it inspired me to, wear it twofold, that, if I wanted to garner a reputation and be someone like him, because my father did give me a good script to follow.
Yeah.
And that's managing with a salesman's hat, which, because I think if I'm not, don't let me speak out of turn, I think we all wore those hats pretty tight because sales was all I wanted to do. And he would tell me managing people sucks, and he's not far off, but I love my employees.
Yeah.
But once I'd felt, I guess not super confident, but at least felt like that I'd landed in that position I wanted to be, why wouldn't I carry that to my own personal life? Right. So it made me grow better as a man along the way, wearing a sales hat, I guess. And that's me trying to sell it to myself in this moment. But
it's tough. I mean, do I look at myself as a sales guy or a salesman? I mean, yeah, that's what I do. But when I think about who I am and what I represent or what my own personal value prop is, I build relationships, I create opportunities, and I solve problems. And whether it's conveyor belt or whether it was anything else, I think that's who I am as a person, and I've had a great career and, learned differently than a lot of people do. I mean, where did you go to school? School of Hard Knocks, right? Rubber Ron's education was, it had its challenges, and working in a family business, like we already talked about that, you don't know the things you don't know until you know it, and these are the things that are being passed down from my dad, and he ran a really good business, but we're a small family business. That's what we were. And you got to go through those bumps to figure it out when you're on the other side, and it's that the hindsight's always clear, right? Looking back at it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you've probably got more stories to tell about that than me.
Yeah, I do. I it's not always I guess. Well, let's speak to that. You're in a manufacturer level, and so you're selling to distributors like me. So on the distributor level, it's a little different because you might build the item soup to nuts in-house, but now you got to run off and go install it. So it added a different vein to it because, hey, did you like installing that lace in that belt? Well, now you get to go roll it out on the system, So, but, at least I spent some valuable time working on that portion of soup to nuts of going out and being boots on the ground. And when you step outside the vehicle with a trained belt tech lead, you're sitting there questioning in your head, how are we going to do this? And he is too, but you jump in and you figure it out, and it was kind of exciting to learn in a different vein because you figured out everything to garner the sale, but now you really got to dot the I and you got to walk away with it running, and it added a different level of excitement because so many variables coming at you. That's their system. They know how it drives, and you can build the perfect belt for them, but it's got to train itself in, and it's like putting new tires on, and it's a different level of excitement there, and fear, so.
I totally get that. And, we did a short run a long time ago. I remember we tried to go out and think, oh yeah, there's a lot of people vulcanizing. Why don't we go out and try and do that? We quickly realized this is not our cup of tea, our core competency. Let's have them bolted to the ground, and let's run, rewind up here. We got a belt hanging there. We can run it through the press, and we can roll it up, and then we can kick it out the door. So, yeah, being a distributor fabricator, and now with Belt Service, basically you're essentially a manufacturer. It's a different animal, and I don't think I'd want to be out there running with crews and trying to manage that. Vulcanizers, they live crazy lives.
They do, yeah. I'm going to speak to the past because it used to come with a lot of vices, and I would witness that. I would say I have some very grown-up techs nowadays, and the world's put some certain clamps on that.
Yeah.
You and I aren't selling belt over lunch the way they used to anymore,
right.
and I guess I value that change because it certainly helps to stop the risks involved
Absolutely.
with it. But you scratched into one. Let's go there. You mentioned Belt Service before I could. Do you care to tell me about that? Now you're in a much bigger world than you were with
right.
rubber and plastics, and I know a lot of that world. I know some different avenues and things, but you're on the black rubber vein and that course still. Tell me about that.
Well, Belt Service is a phenomenal company, and they're such good people, and they're family run. It's interesting because our industry, everybody's always kind of coming out of the woodworks and talking like, hey, are you interested in selling? Or these guys are doing this. And, there was some chatter a long time ago. And my father had passed away, and I was that outside sales guy that was kind of the tip of the spear. And the next thing I know, I'm thrust into this like, oh my gosh, we have like 45, 50 employees. My dad had always done the operations and kind of ran the business from the inside. So I found myself in a completely new world, and it's, that wasn't a fun year and a half, 2 years, as I was treading a lot of water and trying to figure out which way was up, and brought some really good people in to help me run the day-to-day, and found some really good business advisors that come alongside me, and some guys I've still work with today. And I think it was a few years had passed, and I was pretty comfortable at the helm, and we were starting to do some fun things with marketing. We were getting our name out there, and we had conveyorbelt.com, and so a lot of business was coming from different angles. And, I wasn't really, looking to sell the business, but, an opportunity came up to sit down and talk with the guys at Belt Service. And, next thing you know, we're kind of joking with each other, and we essentially do the same things, right? But they were doing it on a much bigger level. And so it was really easy to sit down and talk with those guys and find out, that's a really good fit. Yeah. Family run, really good people. I mean, their tenure there, they got guys that have been there for 40, 45 years, and they have a lot of them and a lot of locations. And all the people that I met, and including the ownership, man, it just made sense. And they put me into a really cool role because they knew that, my forte is not running a business and managing it from an inside. You do the best you can and you figure out how to hire to your weaknesses. But hey, we're going to put you in a role that really allows you to shine, go back to outside sales, business development, kind of being the tip of the spear and bringing opportunities back to them. So I was like, yeah, heck yeah, that sounds really good. So it was a fun process, and it didn't take long. We were able to sit down and knock it out in probably 6 months, 9 months, and we'd inked a deal in about a year. And I sometimes look back and I'm like, wow, I can't believe it's 6 years. We're going on 7 years. It's just been a lot of fun, and time just has that way of slipping away as well.
Yeah, it does. I was excited when it came out. I was excited for you. You and I had talked a while, we were little tidbits about what we really cherish in doing this and putting that sales hat on and staying focused in that vein. I knew that meant something to you. So when this opportunity came, I was like, well, gosh, what a perfect marriage, because Belt Service has the reputation. They are a family-owned business, and to have you as an asset, that's tremendous.
Good people, and I think that kind of speaks back to, the Inglesmen and my father, that, they competed with each other, but they were friendly competitors, and we actually helped each other out. there were times I'd have to run over and will call something, or they would buy a little piece of belt from us, and so there wasn't kind of that, these are my ugly competitors, and we're gonna buy this business at all costs, and we're just kind of a dogfight to the bottom. It was really respectable from the get-go with my father working with the Inglesmen, and just good people all around. So it just made sense. And so here I am in this position now. I'm not having to think about what am I going to do with my kids? Am I going to do hey, I need somebody I can trust, or hey, you're not sure what you want to do? I need a sales guy in California. So I'm going to sign you up, and it's a 3-year sentence. a 3-year commitment, right? It was a sentence in the beginning. I had no idea what I was doing. I fabricated on, belt for 3 or 4 years. I knew the product. I just didn't know what it meant to be an outside salesman. I didn't have the confidence, to go up and talk to people or figure out what is it that they need, or how do I show them this is something that you don't know that you need, and I need to convince that to you. And it was my dad, when we were talking about doing this, he said, I need you to do this, and if you're going to do it, you got to commit for 3 years. I thought, that's weird. He's asking me to commit for 3 years. And it literally was about a year and a half into my quote-unquote sentence that it clicked, and I got the confidence, and I realized in outside sales, I'm not selling a product, I'm building relationships. That stuff comes. And it was a lot of fun figuring it out, working down in California, built some really good relationships, and I was young. I was 22, 23 years old, right? I think about that now. If I had a 22, 23-year-old kid come knocking on my door, like, hey, look, our cleats don't come off. I would sit down with them as a courtesy, thinking about myself, but, a lot of people gave me a chance, they gave me an opportunity, and I flipped it around real quick, and I realized this is a lot of fun. So I think I liked working in the shop. I enjoyed fabricating. That was really cool. But transitioning into the sales role was really a lot of fun for me. And then transitioning into an owner, operator, running the business, okay, I got to figure this out. I know what I like to do and I know what I'm good at. Then you find out the things that you don't do so well that you got to learn how to do really good. And I was figuring all that stuff out right about the time Belt Service and I sat down to have some conversations, and I'm like, yeah, this just really makes sense. I don't have to worry about bringing my kids into the business or what's going to happen with the legacy, and so it's going to be rubber on and rubber rod. That's the good legacy right there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I understand a lot of what you're saying. I've been fortunate to watch a lot of people under our roof go from the shop off into wearing a sales hat, and how do I go about doing that, and finding that confidence. And I'm sure that the experience in the shop was rewarding to get comfortable in that role, because you've been the hands-on. You can speak to all the intimacies of it that a salesman, oh, never mind, just cut me the PO and off we go. That probably formulated a lot of trust. And I've watched it. I've taken some of my guys out in the shop. We're going to go out in the field today and we're going to call on this guy. Never once was the customer maintaining any eye contact with me. They were all in with the blue-collared guy who's going to fix their problem, because I'm just there to take their money,
Sure.
And it's funny how that works. And then my experience is a little different, because I came from sales. Like when I got out of high school, I started selling shoes at the mall, and I liked talking and trying to have something to try to promote and stuff. So I did work in our shop, but it was a very short time. I worked there for maybe half a year, but as soon as the opportunity to go jump into sales, I didn't even know what I was selling yet. I hadn't worked with it long enough, but by God, I still wanted to put that hat on and try it again. So,
well, I mean, sneakers and kicks, those are sexy and cool, and conveyor belt, you're like, it's a whole different animal. But I've been doing this long enough to go, that's a really good looking conveyor belt, right? Like, that turned out good. It's cross rigid, it's got cross cleats, it's got sidewalls. Like, that's kind of the trifecta. It's really cool.
Oh man, we are going to talk dirty belt porn. And I use that lingo sometimes as, oh, that is a sexy belt, but hey.
Well, I mean, when you step back and look at what you've done, and you can feel good and proud about it. But I mean, one of the things that, I don't know if we've touched on this or you're going to go there. I mean, when I talk to people and I tell them what I do, they're like, huh? You sell conveyor belt? Like, they look at me like they don't know what it is. And I'm like, well, at the grocery store, when you put that's a baby conveyor belt, right? And then they're kind of thinking a little bit more. And I'm like, everything that we eat, that we wear, that we drive, everything is typically born on a conveyor belt, assembled on a conveyor belt, and oftentimes, end of life, it goes to die on a conveyor belt somewhere. So what we do is really cool. Like, we're kind of in that hidden underground world that people don't even know or think about how things get made, or what's that show, Factory Made, or like there's we've been able to go to some really cool places and see some stuff that a lot of people don't get to see. And I think that that's really fun. So maybe that's helped, continue to drive, like, what else is out there? Because, still today, I've been doing this for a long minute. Somebody brings something in and I'm like, you're doing what with that conveyor belt? Like, so I'm always learning, growing. There's new opportunities. And I definitely don't think I've seen it all.
No, I sure hope that's true, because, I always say I'm 99% sure I've seen it all, because you got to leave the door open for
little bit
something new to come along.
Yeah.
But that forensic mind, it's like lifting the hood. How's that turn, and what's that do? I like that. It's the most important questions a lot of people I've watched in sales overlook that. Like, let me replicate that for you. Let me go get that. Wait. And I also parallel with what you were saying by always saying everything you purchase has been conveyed at one point or another.
Yeah.
I didn't think about its death. It's
cradle to grave, right? Cradle to grave. And, we haven't really talked about industries. There's lightweight food and pharmaceutical all the way up to heavy duty mining and aggregate. Belt service has a belt in all of them.
Yeah.
But, it's just really cool, the places that I've been able to go and the factories that I've seen and just how everything gets assembled and put together. And I didn't know that conveyor belt was going to take me to all these places. And here I am now. Here I am doing a podcast with you, Casey.
Talking about damn belt.
That's right.
Well, you brushed over it and really carved it up anyhow. I was going to ask how rewarding sales has been, but it's leaching out of you right now very easily. So if you want to touch on that anymore, you can. But I was going to jump into NIBA because we've danced around the subject and what it means going places and networking and getting to know. What you've been in, I don't see you climbing rungs, and maybe I shouldn't be bringing it up in the podcast, and I'm not pressuring you when I do like your father did. I know he was NIBA president in 2002, and that's for Uncle Ron. But,
right.
But I know that there's so much to value in just showing up and being present and getting to know people there too.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he definitely jumped into NIBA as a small, distributor, trying to figure out how to grow his business and how to connect and utilize the resources. And I think that I mean, for him, like NIBA was like Christmas. Like he loved going to NIBA, and he was kind of an icon there. I think we still have the Rubber Ron scholarship, right? That's yeah. So like I'm gonna go do the 3T training here pretty soon myself. Like I've been through it a long time ago, and it's like, hey, you got to keep brushing up on your skills. So I'll be doing the track train and troubleshoot, and I realized that the Rubber Ron Memorial Scholarship is still down there and it's still going. So, you know, for him, NIBA meant a lot because he was able to meet other distributors, other people that became customers, and that opened up the doors for new opportunities with different vendors. And I've participated in NIBA. I mean, I started at a really young age going, and then I served on a couple different committees and was involved from that capacity. But I just realized I'm not Rubber Ron, right? Like the apple didn't fall far, but far enough away for me. It's like I'm going to go to NIBA and I'm going to participate and I'm going to soak up everything that it has to offer. But it's just not me jumping onto committees and doing that work. So if somebody calls me, I'll be like, hey, you got to listen to the podcast.
This is the abridged version of NIBA.
Yeah. No, but what a great opportunity to come to people, you know, come together with people from our industry, and you know, there's all different walks of life that show up there, and a bunch of crazy people and a lot of knowledgeable people, and you can just mingle around. And you know, I know a lot of people at NIBA, and I've been going for a long minute, but every year I go, I meet somebody new, and they've been there for a long minute as well. So I've enjoyed my time doing NIBAs for sure.
Yeah. My history's brief. I've probably only been doing it 10 years, but you know, certainly you're speaking everything that I can speak to, the rewards of getting to meet people. And maybe that's what made me want to do this, because you know, I go make reaches in different circles and talk to people, and holy crap, they can bleed out some story that no one else talking to them would ever get again. You know, so I was like turning people upside down and seeing what falls out. And
it's great.
It's fun, you know. As people might take a listen to this, or others, you know, even Vernon was amazing the last one I had, because at the end of it, it's like, no way, you get on, you roll up hay when you're not doing this, you know?
Yeah,
who would have ever guessed in a million years?
I wouldn't have thought that's what he did for enjoyment and getting a little solitude, but you know, everybody's different.
Yeah.
Well, what do you like to do? Where's your happy Zen place? So like when you're not running a conveyor belt company and selling conveyor belt, what does Casey like to do for fun?
Well, I try to assess that. 'Cause you're turning the tables. It's like I ask these questions, but I don't answer for myself. No.
Well, the viewers want to know, Casey.
I run a gambling ring. Yeah. No, I've got a young family, so I'm just trying to squeeze out what I can with them before they shut the door on that and off in the world for too long.
Right.
And other than that, I really like working out. You know, I think you and I are probably showing off in this podcast how much we like working out.
We like working out.
But yeah, I mean, and some of that is just getting on my bike during lunch hour and just pedal away and, zone out to a good podcast. I'll give you some referrals when this is over. But otherwise, I just, the possessions I have, I'm grateful for them. Certainly the rewards have been here for what we have to experience boating better or camping better, things like that in my life that I certainly enjoy. But I'm all about the experience. I've kept a good group of friends, and I still get, I'm very fortunate. Family members have been like friends to me, and friends have been like family to me, that just to get together over dinner and have the experiences of life together is tremendously rewarding. I'm going to Disneyland in a month with my brother and my best friend and their families, and it's great because we can just, you go do that and we'll go do that and kind of break off in different groups and things like that, and then come back together for dinner. So life's rich pageant. Why not grab a hold of that?
Absolutely. That's great. I like the way you said that.
Yeah. Thank you. Table turn. Way to go.
Oh, sorry.
What's fun when you're not working, Rod?
Man, there's so much fun stuff to do.
Well, I'm gonna get into hobbies, because I know that the wind blows and your hobby changes, because you've been down the road of kayaking, and I don't know if you've returned to it yet. I know that you have had a built Jeep. I have had a built Jeep going 4x. We got that experience together. I know that different toys come in and out of your life. So I don't want to speak too much, but I would want to reach into, maybe are there any you have and you haven't shared with others yet?
Are you talking about passions or toys that
All of it.
Oh.
All of it.
Yeah, I don't, I'm kind of like you, Casey. I like to have experiences, and, I've had fast, fun cars, and those are great for a minute, right? It's like, what do they say? There's 2 good days to own a boat: the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
Break out another 1,000. That's the acronym.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So, and we don't have a boat, and I've told my kids if they want a boat, they need to make friends with people that have boats.
Yeah.
And I mean, we grew up doing some boating and some stuff, and yes, I like Jeeps, and I thought to myself, boy, it would be really fun to go out and go 4-bying and go off-road, and you had yours, and I said, yeah, let's all go together. And remember, we were upside down. Was that in your Jeep or
it was
Andy's Jeep?
Andy in front of us.
Yeah, and I was like, I think I'm cool on the pavement, a little bit of a lift kit and some good loud speakers, and if I have to go off-road, I know that I can do it. But I think rolling with you guys and then ending up upside down, I was kind of like, yeah, I think I've had my fun 4-bying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about I drive a Mini Cooper, right? Like, I really like the John Cooper Works Mini Coopers. They're pretty quick.
There's a lot of room in them. I can sit in those comfortably. I have.
Yeah. And one of my closest friends, he lives in Park City, Utah, and I think he's 6'6" or 6 stupid, and he drives a Mini Cooper, right? Like, he can get down into that thing, and he loves it. So, this isn't a plug for minis. I just think that they're really fun cars, and you're like cruising around in your little Apple iPod. Have the Jeep, and those are kind of my go-tos. I'm thinking about getting rid of my big. I bought it as a work truck, but I don't really use it like that. I'm getting one of those new Tacomas.
Oh, nice.
I really like those. I can pick up the gas mileage. That'd be great, because I'm tired of getting 12 to 14 in my big GMC, and. Yeah, I mean, why am I getting a Toyota Tacoma? Well, so I can put my mountain bike in it a lot easier than I can in my big lifted GMC. So we talked about some of the fun stuff, but I think, where my passions are right now is I'm, obviously getting a little bit older. I'm not interested at all in baling hay, but I still want to be fit and active, and so I've kind of returned back to mountain biking. That's something that I did younger, and I kind of picked it back up, and I'm like, this is awesome. So I can understand why you ride. Like, I get up in the mornings, I have a stationary bike, and I put my tunes on and I train on that thing, and I like going to the gym. I don't know that I'm going to be back doing any whitewater kayaking, but I kept my raft because I still like to get out on some rivers and have a lot of fun. I think the new thing that's really, I think you said the wind blows, and I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at the wind right now because I've started kiteboarding.
Oh, rock on.
Yeah, and that is so much fun, and it's so frustrating, and it's one of those sports that, you don't really have to be in great shape. You just have to have patience and some finesse and a little bit of balance. And I don't have much patience or finesse or balance, and so I'm learning the hard way. But what I've been told is that once you get it and it clicks, and I've had those moments where I've been able to pop up out of the water and ride upwind, and then I still have to sink, and then I can transition and go downwind. But the next thing for me is working on that transition so it's seamless, so I can just go zipping back and forth across the river, and wow. Yeah, and I don't have to have a big truck. I can put my kite and my board in my Mini Cooper and just cruise up the gorge. So that's the latest thing that has really caught my eye, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, it's fun right now, but I can't wait till I can get to that place where I can catch some air and go do some really cool stuff.
Oh, heck yeah. That's awesome. Okay, I was hoping something like that would fall. What about motorcycle?
I mean, what's the why behind? It's like I sell rubber so I can burn rubber. I mean, yeah. I absolutely love riding motorcycles, and I guess I do have a couple toys that, I don't ride them a lot on the street, but I have some pretty fun bikes. But I keep a couple race bikes at the house, and they're in a trailer, and we kind of zip up and down the West Coast and kind of chase the weather, and man, I love it. It's so fun, and it's kind of crazy, and it's not like I'm out as this adrenaline junkie, but I don't know, I think the way my mind works, I can't slow down and read a book to slow my mind down, and I found a few activities that when I'm going all out and I'm solely focused on what I'm doing, everything else gets really quiet and it becomes still, and you have to maintain that focus, because if not, bad things can happen. And I've had bad things happen, but for whatever reason, I'm a late bloomer in life. I didn't get a motorcycle till I was 37, started with a dirt bike, putzing around up in the woods out in Washougal, and I don't know, I wandered into the Ducati shop one day down here in Portland, Oregon, and my world changed. But a year later, I had a couple Ducatis, and I had a little trailer, and I started going out to PIR and learning the hard way. But I've gone and trained with some professional, racers, and it's not for free. You get to spend some good money to, follow them around the track and have them follow you around the track. But I'm learning and I'm growing in the sport, and I think it's kind of really addictive.
Yeah. God, I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've found my passions, right? I don't know, maybe I just want to go fast and be free, on motorcycles and on a mountain bike and flying through the air on a kiteboard, hopefully one day.
Yeah.
All that stuff sounds really fun, and it is a lot of fun.
Well, 52 is not old. It's just a state of mind, and to go chase that down and do it while you can, man.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So, that's what I'm very grateful for, and also grateful for, the position I'm in. I work with guys all around the country and some guys up in Canada as well, and there's a lot of really good kiteboarding in Texas. So I've been spending some time down there learning as well, and this is the big leagues up here in the gorge. I'm not quite ready for that, and so hopefully I can learn in a little bit more calmer water, kind of get some of the basics down before I go try and take on Godzilla.
Oh man, I got more questions, but I don't want to drag our audience out through.
No, that's all good. we can edit this out.
Well, thank you for sharing all that. That's awesome. I have you in the studio, and it's I'm worried I'm going to miss out on something, but we've had a tremendous dialogue. I always throw a curveball, and I've been doing this. This is Kimberly helped me out with this one.
Yeah.
My wife, every interview, I've been throwing out a question that would try to, and you've been gearing up for yours. What advice would you give yourself at age 15 if you could?
Man, don't drink that other Coca-Cola or eat that extra Twinkie, right? And start to work on flexibility and mobility.
Right.
Yeah, as a kid, you think that you're invincible, and I can jump off this and I can eat that, all that stuff. It takes a toll on you, and I'd like to think that I'm in pretty good shape for my age, but looking back, man, I wish I would have done some things differently, spent more time doing cardio, or really worked on, hey, back then nobody had Pilates, or there were a lot of yoga classes back in the day, but if I could go back and talk to my younger self, it'd be get some discipline and have some routines that are going to be good for you as you get older. And it's I kind of talk to my kids about that, and they just kind of laugh at me, and I'm like, hey, check it out, man, the apple doesn't fall far. These are the things that I was gifted from my parents, and hopefully you don't have that gene, but chances are you do. So be good to your knees, eat a little bit better, and think about your future you. And that kind of goes in one ear and out the other, but they see me doing it. I've changed my diet, I work out a lot, and they'll figure it out when they're supposed to figure it out. But if I could have gone back and talked to myself and said, hey, these are the things that are in your kind of storyline, these are the things that are the ailments or the injuries that you're going to have, I probably would have maybe not listened, but I would have thought, no, I would like to think that I would have given myself a little bit of space to pick that up.
Yeah, that's good advice for yourself. That's good advice for myself. I would have taken that. No, I would have ignored it. I would have ignored it too, but as I'm getting older, I realize that too. It was so easy that I justified that I'm playing basketball twice a week, but I wasn't doing anything to stay prepared for it. It was just a justification to trash my diet out more. So yeah.
I get it, and we go to In-N-Out with the kids, and it's you're gonna eat 2 or 3 of those, but I'm when I was a kid, as an adult, sometimes I'll do 2, right? Yeah. So how can I tell them, no, you guys shouldn't eat that? I'm I wouldn't take that advice, so I can't give that advice, and sometimes I've had a couple double-doubles, so it's all good.
You've earned the right, Rod.
Yeah, okay.
I'll be your conscience today.
That's right.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming in, Rod. I really wanted this, and I got a lot out of you that I wanted. I didn't know that I was going to hear.
Oh man, I'm sorry for the people that maybe no. This will be a lot of fun, and I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I think what you're doing is great. Like bringing people together, icons in the industry, and really what it is, it's connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Bringing people together and talking about what is and what was, and you're doing something completely different. I think it's great.
Well, it's fun. Nobody else is doing anything like this. Who would have thought about doing anything like this for the belt industry? But everyone's got their niche. Let's talk about ours.
I think it's great.
Yeah. Thanks, Rod.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, with that, I'd like to thank New Wave Studios and George Padilla for putting together this very nice studio and this setup that helps record it, because I am not that guy. And I'd like to thank everyone listening out there. This has been very rewarding, and I'm going to continue on if you'll have me. So with that, have a great day, everyone.